Coming up on this episode of the Unusable podcast.
Geriatric treadmill confusion.
Common UX mistakes to avoid.
Minor form fiddling.
Hello and welcome to the Unusable podcast, where we discuss the importance of user experience in technology and the world around us, and talk about great design that just works, or moan about it when it doesn't. Sorry, I don't know why I was being a bit theatrical in that introduction.
It was good. I liked it. It was, yeah.
We talk about great design. Do we talk about design that much?
Yeah, I think so. Interface design, good. Product design.
Right, good.
Who are you, David?
Oh, so I'm David Ball. I'm a front-end web and app developer.
Okay, and I'm Andrew Waite, and I run a software platform.
Software platform?
Oh.
Sometimes it's a product, sometimes it's a platform.
Yeah, I do lots of stuff. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Right, okay. Are you alright, Andy?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I've been to a theme park today.
Oh, it's your favourite thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I like going on the roller coasters and the rides. This was a special theme park for little children, though, so I took my kids and managed to terrify them, which is which is good.
Is that related to the theme park, or did you just?
Well, yeah, just put them on all the big scary rides.
Right, good. Oh, I was going to tell you, last time I was talking about the gym that I go to, and what they've done in the gym is they changed all of the equipment, well, not all of the equipment, but the running equipment for more modern equipment that has these like touchscreen displays. So it's got like a big screen on it now. So say you go on the running machine, it's got this touch screen. So you know how the advantage of touchscreen, obviously, wipeable, and also that it can have different modes and stuff. So it starts on one mode, and then when you get into the running, it'll go to another mode. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that is that those modes are not visible straight away, and it's a bit confusing because when you first step on the machine, it just says start or begin or something like that. And while I was there, I saw this old guy, and he'd stepped up to the machine, and he clearly had no clue what to do. I don't know, I just felt for him. And then I tried to go on one as well, and I was like, this is actually not clear anymore. Whereas the older ones, they were so simple that, I mean, you just press go faster, go slower. Whereas now it's got this quite a complicated interface. And I don't know where I'm going with this story. Just a casual reminder that sometimes user interfaces are a bit complicated for people, especially if you're not used to them.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to get carried away with making something flashy.
A bit more complicated.
But does it actually serve the user any better? That's the question.
Yeah, well. Anyway, what are we talking about this podcast, Andrew?
Well, I thought we'd talk about some frustrating things that we see out in the wild quite often. These are common user interface, user experience mistakes. When you say in the wild,
I don't think you mean in the jungle, do you?
I mean in the websites and user interfaces that we use on a day-to-day basis. These are things that we see.
Yeah,
and, you know, maybe you listening to this, maybe you do this, maybe you've done this in the past. So thought it'd be good to put together a list of some of the things that are commonly done but not a good idea. Hopefully all of our listeners are so good that they don't do any of these things. But if you recognise any of these bad practices, should we call them, in your work, then hopefully you'll learn something from this, and you'll become a better designer, developer because of it.
Okay, crack on.
So the first one that I thought I'd bring up, carousels.
Carousels on websites?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
how often? I mean, to be fair, you're pretty good to get this more than me. But how often do you get a design or a client ask for a carousel?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's often. So I make websites all the time. That's my daily job. And a lot of those websites will have carousels on there. I know that you're going to say that it's a bad thing because I've seen plenty of articles recently. Well, not even recently, but like from the last 2 or 3 years, saying that carousels are not great for usability. They're not great for anything really on a website. However, they are something that clients want on their website because it's a good way of showing lots of pictures in the same space.
Yeah.
So if you've got a business, I don't know, you've got a restaurant and you want to wow people with all of your nice food, it's good to show them a picture of the nice food and then a few seconds later show them a picture of some more food.
But like you said, everything I've read and all the evidence suggests that carousels are a terrible idea. They're bad for user experience. The discoverability on those little arrows that you click to go between the items is poor. And yet, like you said, clients tend to insist on it, and designers tend to design them in a lot. It's one of those things that you see everywhere, but there's very little to say that it's a good idea. I think just people think they need one, or are copying something they've seen somewhere.
Yeah, I think in the last 5 years, every website that I've made has had a carousel on. And
every website that you've made?
I think so, yeah. So what I mean by a carousel really is something that's like a full width, possibly full height picture with, like you said, an arrow on the left, an arrow on the right, maybe some dots to show, like if there's five pictures in this carousel, that those dots would represent.
Well, that's nice, showing the number of items in there in a very simple way.
Yeah, because the carousel might not have those dots, in which case you don't know how many there are. Are there 3? Are there 300?
Yeah.
The dots are quite useful to show, like, also that you may be out 3 out of 5.
But in your case, who's deciding that? Is that the designer that you work with, or is that the client, all the clients that are stipulating to have a carousel?
Conversation with the client and the designer and the boss whose wireframed it, I suppose.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't get involved in that bit. I build it, and I don't know if the research is that bad. Then maybe I should be putting a bit more resistance up about this. But I don't know. We're making things that people want, and if somebody wants to put a slideshow of all their lovely items, then we're not going to say no, are we? What's the science behind how bad it is?
I think. Well, I was going to say, I do think you probably have a duty as a professional that if you know something isn't the best for the client, then you should probably flag that up and tell them, try and discover what they're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And then offer them a suggestion that achieves what they're looking for without the negative.
Yeah, I agree.
So the main reason that carousels aren't a great idea, just simply that users don't seem to engage with them. Most of the stats around things like click-through rates and things like that just show that as far as users are concerned, they just skip over them, basically.
I suppose they just think it's a picture and they just go, oh, that's a nice picture, and maybe not wait for it to rotate around to the next one, or fade to the next one, or press the arrow to go to the next one. They might just think, oh, that's it, I've seen it now, move on.
Yeah, I think it might be a case of banner blindness as well. So I think it depends probably how much of a power user you are, like how used to the internet you are.
Power user?
Well, I mean, so people who've been around on the internet a long time get banner blindness, right? You discover what content on a page is what you're looking for and what's ads, and your mind automatically blanks out the ads. Have you never heard that term before, banner blindness?
I have, but this isn't a banner. We're talking about something else. But I suppose what you do... I think I know what you mean, because if I was to go to the website of a restaurant, let's carry on that example from before, if I see a very well taken photograph of some plates of food, I probably will discount it as maybe like stock photography. What I'm really looking for is a photo of the individual thing that I might want to buy.
Well, if I'm looking at a restaurant, I want the menu. I want the opening hours.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point.
I want the ability to book online or order a takeaway online. I'm not interested in rotating images. The other thing that annoys me personally about carousels, especially the auto-rotating kind, is that...
When you say auto-rotate, you don't mean like it's spinning around on the page. You mean it's going to fade to the next one and then to the next one and then eventually round back to the start.
Exactly right. So it spends, say, 5 to 10 seconds on the first image and then goes to the next one and spends 5 to 10 seconds. What I find a lot of the time is if I see something of interest in that first image, by the time I manage to decide to take an action about that, like to click on it or whatever, it's changed to the next image. So then I've got to try and find a control to go back to the previous image to then be able to click on it, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
eBay is a good example of that. So quite often eBay runs like a 20% off voucher.
Yeah.
And that'll be the first item in the carousel, and I'll see it, but by the time I've gone, oh yeah, I should probably go and look at what that voucher code is all about, it's gone on to something else about free listings or something, and I'm like, no, and then you've got to try and work your way back. It's really annoying
Okay.
UX.
Oh, I've got an example then. So I was looking at some furniture. I wanted to buy a chair for the living room. And I was looking at this website, and they had a banner right up at the top. Now, admittedly, it was more of a banner, but it was a rotating carousel in that it showed one picture, then another picture, then another picture. And maybe like the third picture was a picture of a chair that is exactly what I wanted. That was the chair that I wanted. And there was a button on that slide of the carousel. Said learn more or click here or get whatever. So I clicked it. And it took me to the product section, but it didn't take me to the listing for that one particular item that was on the picture.
So you were left wondering what?
So I was sort of left wondering. I was like, oh yes, I'm clicking on this exact picture, but actually the carousel was taking me to a list of all products rather than that exact product.
Rubbish. Another thing is loading time as well. Quite often people stuff those carousels with high resolution imagery, and if you've got a carousel of 5 things, that's 5 high resolution images that have got to load.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And
well, you can lazy load them. We always lazy load ours actually.
Yeah,
so
and obviously, and you can optimize them, but do people always do that? Like a lot of the time, I've seen it a lot in real websites where you get these massive images that take a long time to load, and there's 5 of them.
Can I go on a tangent from here? And say that lately I've been using WebP for images, and the file...
WebP is considered like out of date already, isn't it now?
Oh well, you've just blown me out of the water.
There's a new one. Go on, carry on.
Well, okay. Well, I was just impressed at how low the file size is compared to JPEG. Why? What's the new one?
Let me just look it up because I can't remember, but I read about it recently. AVIF. The new format that's supposedly much more, well, even better than WebP is AVIF. AVIF.
Yeah, okay. I did do some experiments with that, actually. And, also good. Also good.
Cool.
Okay, I've got one from the list. Mm-hmm. Birthday drop-down widgets starting with the current year. So, like, if you're on a form and that form asks you what your birthday is, and a date picker opens up, there's no reason for that date picker to start on the current year, is there? Because nobody was born in the current year and is using a website. That's ludicrous.
I thought you were just going to leave it there with nobody was born in the current year, but I think definitely there are people born in the current year, but
but they're not entering their age onto websites, though, are they?
So I suppose my question in response to that would be, what then is the right year to set it to?
Any other year than the current year would be
so last year
more
then?
Accurate. Last year would be more accurate because it's closer. It's closer to.
So can I tell you what I would do?
Okay.
So I would try and work out what age range my typical customer was.
Yeah. Okay.
And then pick the midpoint in that range.
So if it's a website for kids, then you go back 10 years. If it's for grumpy old men, you'd go back a lot further. Yeah,
and I would probably try and pick... and I wonder actually if you could maybe tweak that over time with data as well. So once you've had a few sign-ups, then actually look, what was your average age?
Yeah, that's good.
But I think... there's a lot of discussion about whether date pickers, what the right solution is for input of dates, isn't there? I mean, there's lots
of course. As long as it works, that's good. I used a website once where to enter the date of my birth, I had to go back, but I could only go back a month at a time. So I was like going back. I couldn't even do it per year. It was ridiculous.
So however old you are, times 12 is how many times you had to click.
That's a lot of months.
But I think there's a lot of contention about date inputs in general, isn't there?
Well, because everyone's got their own preferred format. Like if you're in America, they do it in a funny way, but the rest of the world does it in like day, month, year. But then there's also other formats where you do year, month, day, which is quite sensible. In fact, doing it year, month, day is good for sorting, because if you sort by date, you can see
straight away. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But it's not just internationalization. So there's a HTML form input specifically for date, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I believe that's considered, still today, considered not widely supported enough to use in practice. I think there are some accessibility issues with using the default HTML date component. So then you're left choosing, do I either go for like a date picker widget, which, is kind of a form input, but it's
like a JavaScript plugin type thing.
Yeah, but you never really, those things, are they ever...
Has it been tested properly?
Yeah.
Is it good enough? Is it slow to load? I'd much rather it be like built in and native.
Well,
to the browser, I mean.
Believe it or not, the UK government design guidelines, which are pretty good, by the way, they actually advocate for just separate boxes for year, month, date that are labelled accordingly.
And then you as a programmer can stitch it together later.
Yeah, the programmer can stitch it together, but the user just gets to put in, year, 4 digits, month as 1 or 2 digits, date as 1 or 2 digits.
That's good, because you're not going to get too confused with that. It's going to suit pretty much everyone.
It's kind of amazing that something so basic is considered the right way to do it and the best practice and the most accessible way to do it. But apparently that's the best way to do a date. But you're
right. As long
right.
as somebody doesn't start like typing in February when they could have put 02 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's a good principle for your applications in general, is to be loose in what you accept, but strict in what you send. And by that, what I mean is if someone puts in 02 or Feb or February or 2 or whatever, your application should be smart enough to work out whatever that is. But when it's presenting it back to the user, or if you're using an API, if you're building an API and sending data, you should be always give it in the same format.
Maybe, but I think I'd rather be clear on the label and say this should be numeric and limit it to just 2 characters if it needs 02.
Yeah, but I still think it's good practice to be liberal in what you accept, but conservative in what you send, and to try and, if the user's putting in something different, try and fix it for them, because people aren't going to just put in 02, are they? They're going to put in 2 and expect that will work. And I think it should work. Your application should be smart enough to work out that 2 means 02. I don't think you should force people to, because that's just horribly overzealous, isn't it? When you put something in and it goes, you haven't put 02. I don't know what you mean. I get that a lot with UK postcodes.
What? Some
forms, when you're putting in a UK postcode, mandate that you put the space in it, because a UK postal code is like 2 groups of numbers and letters, isn't it, with a space in the middle? And sometimes, but the space isn't really needed. It doesn't have any bearing on the meaning of the postcode, or at least I don't think it does. So being pedantic about someone putting the space in the right place is just fix it for me. I don't,
What's the next one?
Well, actually, nicely leads on from what you just brought up there, because I think a common thing that people try and do is get clever and build their own elements instead of using browser inbuilt controls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And whenever you make something yourself instead of using an inbuilt control, you're never going to build it properly, are you? You're never going to cater for things like, all the different accessibility technologies out there, all the different browsers.
Well, hang on, what are you actually talking about? Are you talking about like a checkbox or something like that?
Yeah,
I've seen people making their own checkboxes.
Yeah,
which
or
I just think, what's the point? Yeah, checkbox and drop-downs already exist.
People are forever building their own drop-down elements out of like divs. So when you hover onto the div, it reveals why?
Yeah, I think my bank does that.
We've got a built-in element for that.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't just use the one that's built in, which is perfectly fine and perfectly accessible, and it works on mobile fine.
Yeah.
If it's native, then it will pretty much be just universal, won't it?
Yeah, if you're doing that, please stop. Please just use the browser's inbuilt controls, because, usually, the reason people want to do that kind of thing is to gain more control over the styling, right? They've got, they want to gain that control and do something bespoke, but that usually comes at the expense of accessibility and of usability, because it invariably, you're not going to build it as well as the system native control that's built in.
I've had clients in the past, not in my current job, but clients that they really need to make the forms branded with their overall look and feel of their design of their their company. But does anybody care? Does anybody care if the form doesn't quite match your company brand identity?
I can't say that I've ever looked at a form and thought
this isn't specific enough to the company.
I think that if you've got a big enough team and enough time to spend on it, you probably could do a good job of building your own element. But in the real world, most people don't have that time, right? To make it accessible, to fully test it, to do a good job of it. So unless you've got that kind of resource, just don't bother.
However, I'm going to counter this.
Go on.
Sometimes I get a design to build where the checkbox, so it has a checkbox on a form. Checkbox is bigger, nice big chunky checkbox. However, in CSS, I'm quite limited with what I can do to style that checkbox.
Yeah.
I can try and make it bigger, but sometimes it looks a bit fuzzy and grainy and pixelated if I try and scale it, for example. There are ways to style it by replacing it for a picture that you swap for another picture when it's actually checked. But I want to just completely discount all of that and use the native one. But I do wish I could style the native one a little bit better.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more flexibility on that, I think. I agree.
Just like size and colour, maybe.
Yeah, agreed. One thing that I always find is that forms that, because I'm a Linux user, so forms to me look horrible because the default form controls on Linux are horrible. And so forms that look really, really nice on other people's computers, on Macs or whatever, that come out of the box with quite nice, designed checkboxes and stuff, look kind of a bit rubbish on my machine.
Wait, so I thought the form is dictated by the browser that you're using. Is it not? Is it dictated by the operating system?
To a degree, I think, yeah, because you got me thinking now, but I'm pretty sure that because the Ubuntu that I use has an orange colour theme to it, and I'm sure the selected state is orange on some things, and the focus state is orange.
So if you're using Chrome on your Linux and I'm using Chrome on Mac OS, do your form inputs look different to mine? Does your checkboxes
I'm pretty sure they do.
Mine?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Weird. I just thought it was from the browser.
You're making me wonder now.
Well, don't look it up. It's not that interesting. Shall I go to the next one on the list?
If you've got another one, yeah.
Mega drop downs that open on hover, not on click.
Okay, so I don't have much to say about that. What is that? Why is that bad? Why is that bad?
So this is a thing, and I haven't really seen it lately. Maybe because everyone has realised how horrible they are. But a couple of years ago, they were the kind of quite fashionable to have this mega menu. So you know how you might hover over a menu item and it expands, showing you the sub items, the inner pages of that category or whatever. So a mega menu is one where it's a much larger drop down, and it might show you groups of categories and just lots more stuff. Basically, they were quite popular on clothing websites. So you'd hover over the menu and it'd show you all sorts of different categories, and then inner categories, maybe inner categories from that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the most frustrating thing about that is that it can take up a lot of the space on the screen. Yeah. And if you're doing something like you're scrolling your mouse from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen to click on something, you might accidentally go over the menu item that triggers this mega menu, and then suddenly the whole screen is just covered by this whole menu. And then you might be confused and go, oh, I don't expect this. So that's something that I think just should not be a thing.
So I'm a bit confused. What are you advocating for here? That we shouldn't have mega menus, or that they shouldn't be revealed on hover, or both?
Okay. So sometimes there are reasons why you might want a mega menu like this. So maybe you do have a very large website with a lot of categories and subcategories and items and stuff like that. So I suppose I can't say get rid of those completely, but do not on hover does seem, but I just don't think they should be on hover. I just don't think they should open on hover.
Okay, so but surely that then applies to all drop-down menus.
Yeah, I think all drop-down menus, I think anything on the page actually shouldn't do anything unless you clicked.
Okay.
Because it's the same for mobile and tablet. There's no such thing as a hover on mobile. So you're actually saving yourself a job. You're making it clickable on mobile anyway. Why would you want it on hover on desktop just because you've got a mouse? Yeah,
no, that is a really good point. You are entirely limiting yourself to someone with a mouse and a pointer, right? By doing a hover menu. So,
definitely, yeah.
On a slightly related note,
okay,
did you know that there's now a HTML native way of doing an accordion?
Ooh, good.
Let me just remind myself. It's called the details element.
Are you going to start reading out HTML elements over a podcast, though? Because reading out HTML doesn't always work, audibly.
Less than simple. Details, more than simple. No, I'm not gonna read out the HTML spec. But no, yeah, you know how that kind of quite often you have an accordion style interface, and by that what I mean we have it as on our FAQ on our website. So all the FAQ titles you can see, and when you click on a title of an FAQ, it expands and shows you the answer, and then you click on another one, and that one expands. Okay. And that I think is quite commonly referred to as an accordion. But you can do that now natively with no JavaScript.
That's really good.
Using the details element, so you don't need jQuery or anything to expand that panel and reveal the details. So yeah, look up the details element if that interests you.
Keeping it native. Now, however, people probably would still want to override this if they don't have enough control over how it looks or how it animates. So I'm hoping that we do have control over those things. Yeah.
Well, that seems like a recurring theme in the podcast, doesn't it? People just, whether it's a date picker or a drop down or an accordion, if the inbuilt version doesn't have the flexibility that people need, they tend to roll their own, and then you end up in a mess of. Well, that's a phrase, isn't it? I've not just made that up.
Don't know. You mean just make their own stuff up?
Yeah. Yeah, they rather than using the built-in one, but then obviously you probably haven't put in the effort to make sure it's accessible and all that kind of stuff. Make sure it works on every platform.
Next one.
So this is a massive bugbear of mine, and it's overzealous password requirements.
Oh, okay.
So when you go to a website, especially when it's something that doesn't really matter, like
security always matters.
But does it? I can understand when finance is involved or when private information is involved, but for something like, I don't know, booking a gym class or whatever, it has to be secure. Of course, it has to be secure, but use a level of security that's appropriate. But yeah, quite often you go in and you get a form which says what do you want your password to be. And it forces you to have a password with, a upper and lowercase letters in it, a number in it, and a symbol in it, and and these requirements are often different from site to site, so it means that it's really tricky to come up with a memorable password for each site. And if you actually look at the research behind it, one of the biggest things that actually impacts security is password length. So I tend to have a really, really long passwords that are hopefully secure, but quite often I get told, well, that's not secure enough because it doesn't have a number in it. And I'm like, well,
you need some punctuation in.
It's 25 letters long. Are you telling me that's not secure enough? And then following on from that, what I additionally find frustrating is when you come back to a platform that you've not used for, say, a year, and you're trying to guess your password that you used a year ago, and it doesn't tell you what the rules were when you originally set the password. So you've now got to try and... so this happens to me quite a lot, where I'll then go through the password reset process because I can't remember my password. But then in the process of the password reset, it then shows you the rules and you go, oh, that's what it would have been. And then you can log in. So
I know, I've done that before as well, yeah.
So yeah, overzealous password requirements. Just unless you're a bank, just make people put a vaguely long password in, and obviously check it against a database of common stuff as well. So obviously don't allow people to put in password, for example. Yeah. That's a good idea to check against a database of commonly vulnerable passwords.
Yeah.
But stop asking for ridiculous things, and whatever your password requirements are, put them on the login page as well, so people can find out.
That's useful, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Menu navigation that moves when you press it. Right. So imagine you're on a website, you see a menu button. Maybe it's got maybe it's a hamburger. It's got the three lines, which we've seemed to have all agreed now. That is the icon for menu. Press it. Menu expands. Maybe it's an off-canvas menu that expands out from the corner of the screen outwards.
Yeah.
But you might want to close the menu now, but the button to close it is not in the same place. I find that quite frustrating. I want to open it and then close it.
Oh, so you mean like the button that opens the hamburger menu
Yeah.
and closes it should be in the same place, so you can almost like toggle it quickly. You can keep tapping it and it would open, close, open, close, open, close.
I absolutely think it should be in the same place, yeah.
Okay.
But I've used some websites where it's not.
But I quite like, it's a really silly little thing, but I really like those hamburger menus where they animate from a hamburger into the cross. And then when you press the cross, it animates back into a hamburger again.
Yeah. I've made a few of those. They're nice. They look good. And good thing about it is they're always in the same spot, because it would look weird to move it somewhere else.
Yeah, of course.
Right, good. We're in agreement there.
Yeah.
Good. Moving on. What's the next one?
Scroll hijacking.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay.
So again, I think if you are Apple, for example...
Okay. Why does Apple get away with this?
Well, maybe they don't, but this is my thoughts. Okay, so if you're Apple and you have the amount of resource that they have to make a scroll hijack, because they do, don't they, on Apple product pages, as you scroll down, it does weird things like there's a laptop that opens up and it kind of holds the page in one place while your scroll wheel makes the laptop animate to open or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But obviously they've got the resources to make that kind of rich experience and make it accessible, you would hope. Make it usable, make it cross-browser. Great, that's fine. But I've seen so many instances where people have had a go at that and obviously not had either the skill or the time to make it that good. And it just, it's horrible. It's janky, it's inaccessible, it's horrible. And I think in general, just, don't do it.
I was on a website a while ago, and the scroll wheel just seemed to be very... Like, they hijacked it, and every time I scrolled, I'm pretty sure I only scrolled half of what I would. So it really felt like to scroll down to the bottom of the screen was a real slog. Like I was scrolling and getting nowhere. It's like a sort of dream where you're running and...
Like swimming in treacle. That's
what it felt like, yeah. It's really annoying. I don't know what the intention was behind that. Maybe the website owner really, really wanted me to read every part of the site and not scroll too fast. Very frustrating.
Yeah.
Right. If anyone's listening and has been told to do that sort of thing, don't. Please don't. However, I don't know.
we're pleading. Please don't. Okay, what's the however? What's the however there?
It does look quite good when Apple does it on their product page. It does work quite
but
well.
But that's why I think though, if you've got the resource to put into it to make it good, I don't think it's that much of a problem. But it,
so there's always an exception for everything that's bad, as long as it's good.
I don't know. I've got another one which I think is always bad. Right click hijacking.
What do you mean right click? What's that?
Have you never been to a website where you try and right click on it and then a JavaScript alert message pops up that says copyright 2010?
Oh, what?
Or
I've not seen anything like that in the last 10 years.
Really? Oh, I see it a lot, especially on small business websites. So you get this a lot on, say you're for example, a photographer, and you don't want people stealing your images,
right?
In air quotes. They'll tend to add onto the website a piece of JavaScript that hijacks the right click. And so instead of the right click menu opening, where people can go save image as or whatever, or inspect the element, it pops up a JavaScript alert. And it's just incredibly infuriating. I
don't like the assumption that I'm going to steal stuff. I might just be wanting to see what your HTML is.
Yeah, but also...
That's one of your source.
Also, it's not that difficult to disable JavaScript, and then you can just right-click anyway. So you're only
preventing... What if it's a React website and then it won't work at all?
That's true. But you're only really preventing... you're not really gaining that much from it, other than just annoying people.
No, it is just annoying people.
One thing that I do, which I'm not sure is super common, but I tend to sometimes use the right-click button and then press back, because there's a control to go back under the right-click menu. So I just find that easier than moving the mouse up to the top left to press back. I'll just go right-click back. And it's really annoying for me as a user that some websites prevent me from doing that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
It always frustrates me. And it's not just that I can't do it. It's obviously an alert box, so I have to dismiss the alert box before I can do anything.
Can I tell you about our latest Twitter followers, Andrew?
I would love to hear about them. Hold on. Can we do that again?
No. I'm just going to carry on. You're going to... Now,
Why do you always leave the most embarrassing, awkward bits of my audio in the podcast?
so we have Chris R. Becker,
Hello.
Alexander Radal,
Hello.
Sean Byrne,
Hello.
Hel Avenir,
Hello.
Alan Schregler,
Hello.
Cleo Dillon,
Hello.
Jeff Schnell,
Hello.
Santosh Gandhi,
Hello.
Michelle Renee,
Hello.
and Jen Cochran.
Hello. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. Bad usability nightmares.
Have you got a bad usability nightmare? Mine is minor. Mine's very minor.
What? Coal miner?
Yeah, in fact, can we make a new section? It's just minor annoyances rather than because bad usability nightmare, it has to be quite bad to be a nightmare, doesn't it?
Okay, well maybe we need to hold on. Should we do the intro bit again? Should we do minor usability nightmare?
But can you say it in the voice of a Cornish tin miner?
I don't know what a Cornish tin miner sounds like.
Right, that's fine. Right, I'll just get onto it, shall I? So I got a text message from the dentist. So I've got an appointment next week, and they sent a link in this text message saying, click here and fill in some forms before you get here. It'll speed it up. And I thought, fine, I'll do that. So I clicked on the link, but I had to log in. Obviously, I've never logged into this before. I don't have a username and password for my dentist, but they do know my phone number. And so what they asked for is my full name, date of birth. That's not really important. But what the important thing is, they said they'd send me a secure code to my phone.
Yeah.
You've seen this sort of thing before. They send me a code. I copy the code. You know how when you get sent a text message, your phone kind of recognises what it is and allows you to go copy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I paste it into the field.
Yeah.
And I'm done, right? I'm done. I press OK.
Well, I would think so, yeah.
I press OK, nothing happens. But what I've noticed is the OK button hasn't like it's still greyed out.
Okay.
I've pasted the code, but the OK button's not working.
Can I guess what the cause was?
Yeah, what's happening there?
Was there a maximum length on the field, and when you copied and pasted it, there was like a space character or a hyphen character, so it was actually the wrong number of digits or something?
I've not thought of that, but no, it wasn't that. It was... So what I did to resolve it is I typed another number, deleted that number, and then the OK button sort of lit up.
Oh, right, okay, so the developers that have built it have made it check for whether it's a valid input on key up, but that doesn't count paste.
By checking that I've actually typed it in, but I haven't typed it in. Who typed it in? You have to be a lunatic. Copy and paste, right?
Yeah.
But by pasting it, obviously it doesn't look like I've typed in that box. So the script didn't know to activate the button. Anyway.
Rubbish.
Annoying, and because I know the technology and how the technology works, I knew what to do. But I bet a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I don't know what's happened there." So I bet that would catch a lot of people out.
Yeah, I bet. I bet it would.
Anyway, that is the end of the podcast. If you've seen or used something unusable recently, we want to hear about it. You can email us at podcast@theunusable.com, and we're on Twitter @unusablepodcast. If you've enjoyed this, there's plenty more. Last episode, we talked about the decline of UX. We also have Unusable t-shirts and hoodies available to buy on the website, podcast.theunusable.com. Music is by Gold5472. Please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts so you'll get a notification about the next one. And that's it until next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.